Alright, so I figured since you guys were actually doing pens, the whole point of this assignment this week is to sort of go through and look at texturing a single object as realistically as possible. So I found some random examples of random people's pens online. And I just want to sort of talk about what, in my opinion, makes some of these successful, or like particular areas of a model successful, so you guys have an idea of sort of what I'm looking for the assignment. But anywho, so this random model, I think overall, like, it's really pretty. I like the sort of basic textures of things. What I would hope for if I was doing this is, like, so you have this, like, the little blah. You have these little scratches and stuff here, and, like, a little bit of up here that feels, some of this feels like a little bit low res, like artifacty. But you also get this nice little, like, embossed, sort of indented area here, which is nice. And I think those areas are pretty strong. What I would like if you know, this was my pen, is I would probably go through and, like, do some more texturing in here. And, you know, add some of those, like, we have the scratches and the wear here, but, like, and anywhere that's gold, but we don't have it on any of the other areas of the pen, which feels a little bit strange to me. And then same thing kind of for the rest of these. They all feel like a little bit flat, except for, like, one or two textures which clearly have maybe some more love put into them. The other thing that I personally usually look for on these ballpoint pens is, like, where's that little inky tip? Or, like, if you're like me, I hold, like, the very tip of the pen, and I get ink on my fingers, and my fingers get ink on the rest of the pen. So there'll be, like, little inky smudges up here, or maybe, like, you know, in here where you get ink and then you can't, like, easily clean it off. So there might be, like, ink smudges on your stuff. So you could look into things like that. Let me actually find pen. I'll show you for fun at the end of this. Yeah, I didn't think that was actually going to bring up anything. Alright, I'll show you at the end of this a weird pen that I did if you're interested. Alright, so this one, pretty standard little, you know, I was going to say number 2 pencils, and, like, I guess they aren't actually number 2. So there's a few things I look at in this one. So they have clearly bump maps for the HB, which I think is a nice touch. The texture on the eraser feels a little bit aggressive. And then if you look at, like, this thing, it's also bump mapped up, but maybe not quite as aggressively as it could or should be. And then the bump map on this is really excessive. So what I probably would have done is just extruded this out a little bit, like made this physically slightly larger, then textured it, and then make this just less bumpy. And then the other thing, and I'm, if y'all are ever doing work for me, I'm a crazy stickler about the direction of wood grain. And this is not how wood grain on a pencil works on the end. I do actually really like that they've textured the graphite. Graphite, though, does not have a wood texture on it. For one, it's usually shinier, and I do actually like how it's not, like, how this is broken up. That's nice. But it's shinier, and it usually, like I said, is not wood grain texture. And then this wood grain is going the wrong direction, where you can see that you can just, like, see the UVs, or it's like a flat texture that was just, like, wrapped around. So overall, I mean, I think the model's nice, and, like, from a distance, it holds up well. But this isn't what I would necessarily, like, put in a portfolio for doing modeling, where, like, I think it has lots of nice elements to it, but it needs to get pushed farther to really be sort of realistic. And, like, this maybe could use, like, a little bump map in there or something like that. And then this boring blue ballpoint pen, as the person has titled it. I actually like this a lot for certain things, and it's really bloody hard to see. My cat is screaming sadly in the other room. So it'd be cool to, I think the lighting is, like, a little bit crazy. It'd be neat to see this textured in here, with, like, the ballpoint thing. But what I like is how they've done, let's see if I can actually show it. They have some, like, nice subtle scratches or, like, gross stuff and, like, crud on here, which I think shows up nicely. And I also like that you can see very clearly, like, the ink and how that's a different texture. This tube thing has volume. Just make sure I'm recording. I'm so paranoid about that. But yeah, so I like the sort of textures on here. I think the one thing that I might tweak for this, and you can see how you can see where they just, like, ripple when the light comes across, which is, like, really nice. Oh my god, what am I doing? Forgetting how to navigate in Sketchfab entirely. And they also have some of that on the cap, which I think is nice, and they have, you know, lots of little sort of, like, dents and stuff like that. So the secret is not to realistic texturing, and Sketchfab I don't think is showing this off terribly well, nor is the lighting, but is it's not having lots of really noticeable scratches, it's putting in realistic scratches, which are often really subtle, and then lighting the object appropriately so you can see them. So, you know, going through and being like, cool, this light in here does a really good job of showing off the scratches here. It like catches on these little dents. So that's the kind of stuff you want to look at when you're texturing your pen. It's not necessarily go big or go home. It's like shoot for realistic and then texture so you can see what you did. I feel like the lighting is something that usually is kind of neglected, and there's no one size fits all. A lot of times I'll start with a 3-point light setup and just sort of rotate things around to see or highlight a specific area. And you can even use, you know, different stuff for different renders. This shall continue.